What's up, Video Game Guru here, and being fresh off of beating Spider-Man Miles Morales for the PS4 respectively, I've got to say this ride was a highly enjoyable one. It feels like the perfect epilogue to Peter's story to really bridge it into what's going to be coming for next gen. So, in the interest of talking about it, I am going to make it a review of sorts, but I'm also going to discuss a few things that I personally observed in it that kind of allude to where they're going with the direction of it, and how it seems like it's going to shape up to be a really fantastic overarching story for what they are building with the next installment into the Spider-Man series. So let's not waste time with the overly long intro and get into it. Spider-Man Miles Morales, the sequel epilogue part 2 to Spider-Man 2018. It is not just a copy-paste of the old game with a new character and a story that feels like it should be DLC. It genuinely feels like a remix of something that was already damn near a masterpiece, like a solid 9 out of 10. The game was really good. Narratively, it was cool. It was a Spider-Man story. It was very by the books. And it was a treat seeing Peter back in 2018 be brought into, quite frankly, the best video game version we've seen of him by far. And now in 2020, we get the Miles Morales edition with all of that same flair, all of that same Spider-Man story, that same charm, the wit, the heart of the story, the heart of a Spider-Man, what it means to that individual to be Spider-Man, while also making it something of its own. It almost feels like the Spider-Verse of Spider-Man for PlayStation. And if you don't know what I mean, Miles Morales was originally introduced in August 2011, and when he first came out, it kind of seemed like he was nothing more than a shameless copy-paste. Even in the comic, he was told by the villain he thwarted that it was in bad taste because the costume he wore was the same thing as Peter's. Aside from a color switch, if you know what I mean, there really wasn't much to Miles. His story arcs were kind of the new powers were super dope, the new costume was cool, but it's always cool to see a Spider-Man take a switch. But there wasn't too much that set him apart. Even the messed up uncle relationship in the comic was contrived and not done very tactfully. Kind of grimy and didn't really instill the great power with great responsibility without saying it type of vibe. With the movie Into the Spider-Verse, as well as a couple of comic arcs that came out afterwards, Miles got a fresh new take on him, and there were some things that actually set him apart and make him his own Spider-Man. And with those things that happen within the comics, movies, they did the same thing with the game, is what I'm trying to say. They did a great job making this feel like Miles' own journey. Peter is not involved at all. He has no kind of interactions when it comes to Miles starting his journey. There is some intro stuff, some buddy cop moments in the first couple of missions that I won't spoil, but beyond that, it is Miles' time to shine. It is his turn to intervene to stop the most popular place in the world, apparently, from being destroyed yet again, only roughly about a year after the events of the last game. So, gameplay. Gameplay between Miles and Peter. Between what you spend $60 on in 2018 and what the price ticket for this is $50 or $70 if you get the bundled edition for the PS5. It's worth it. It's worth it. The gameplay tweaks are different enough. Back in 2018, you had a lot of Peter using the gadget wheel, having a decent repertoire of web attacks, kind of like finishers. He had his typical, triangle circle finishers, and the big, click the sticks to activate the abilities that particular suit gives you when you switch suits. He had a lot of different gimmicks. He had a lot of different tricks up his sleeve. A well-versed, fully fleshed, fully kitted Spider-Man who has been doing this for some time, along with being very powerful, showing the feats that he shows singularly with relative ease, as well as taking on the Sinister Six, as well as fighting Doc Ock, one of the most powerful villains. He shows, he flexes in that game in his own way. Miles in this one still has those shows and displays of strength, His powers are still developing. You have the Venom Blast, that's a new thing for him, which is something that you expound upon through the skill trees. You have his camouflage, which really starts kicking in, and his obvious acrobatic and super strength based feats. But with Miles, you don't have all that tech. You also don't have all that time like Peter did. So you have 4 major gadgets, and the rest of your stuff is based off Venom and throwing them hands. That is it. So you go around pretty much doling out electrified arachnid justice, as you will, as opposed to Peter's webbed style of it more so. It's cool visually and aesthetically, aside from it also being in winter. New York has that kind of frosty coat of paint over it. Miles has his very own flair, as I was saying, with combat, so seeing the yellow shock of the electricity while still having the webs and the contrasted black and red suit, just in that backdrop, jumping and flitting around everywhere, it's cool. It's really cool. It is a treat for the eyes to see how Miles' own combat style, more kind of tightly focused, makes for a different feeling in combat. You feel more powerful, and it looks cooler too with the backdrop as well as all the things you do. The other thing that I do have to say about gameplay between Miles and Peter, he has his phone conversation still with his friends. He's a bit more of a proactive hero. Genki, his best friend, uses a app that they've created, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man of sorts, so that way you can be a proactive hero and not just be tapping into the New York police systems the way that Peter did. So you can have people actually make requests, you can track your crimes through there, you feel like you're really going out, you have a point to prove as Miles, has like a go-getter mentality. The other thing is when you're web swinging, you get all the tricks. One of my favorite things, a personal favorite, was swinging around back in the day on Spider-Man 2, doing the tricks that get unlocked with the skill points that you got from doing the crimes, so you could pull off the different stuff and get XP. It was like not BMXing, what? SMXing? Swinging moto. Either way, nope, it doesn't work. Either way, it was cool because you got to pull off sick tricks midair as Spider-Man. Well, that is back with Miles, but that artistic expression, that youthful exuberance, him going through the air, doing all the fancy rolls, the tucks, the backflips, the spins, the poses. Like, you really feel very amazing, spectacular even. I don't know. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is that it feels good and it feels different and it feels fun. It's a fresh take, it is a remix, it is not a shameless copy and paste. It's something you can really sink your teeth into and have fun with. I was genuinely surprised that when I was getting ready to make the review, I found myself also picking up the controller so I could just knock out a couple of activities so I can unlock that last suit, or figure out what that one extra mission is, or let me see what this reveals for the story, so that way I can go ahead and have everything unlocked before I go and do New Game Plus. And the payoff was actually unique. It was worth it. It was fun. I would highly recommend doing all of the challenge missions. Even if you suck at them, just finish them and get the worst score that you can get so you can do that last mission. It's really fun. It was a treat, and it was a cool little bit of Spider-Man lore that I appreciated them putting in there. But it was something that shows like a passing the torch. You're ready. From training from Peter on down to Miles, I'm kind of coaching you, from the shadows, not directly, not holding your hand. And now let me give you a test from afar that I'm sure and I know you can handle. And he has faith in you to do. It's just cool. It's just a fun game that is most definitely worth your time. So, aside from just gushing and talking about how fantastic it is and only exclusively singing his praises, let me be also real with you and say that it does suffer from that Parker luck. There is a couple of downsides. There were a few. I had some glitches, nothing major, some freezes, and then right back to business. It was good. When the action was heavy, it never dropped on me. When the action was crazy, with everything going off on all cylinders, with boss fights even, and minions and turrets and like other people fighting on the screen alongside you, it didn't drop. It was great. But sometimes when casually swinging, the game would just pause. Hold. Okay, there we go. oh, okay, I'm back to it. Wait, what? And then you can keep on swinging. Or, sadly enough, I don't think I captured this, but I did have one game-breaking bug that completely crashed and made me lose about, just like 15 minutes of gameplay. It was some open-world roaming stuff, but still disheartening nonetheless. It took me to the main screen. I was really feeling the groove. I was about to say, alright, let me go ahead and hop on here and record this real quick, because I am in like a flow state right now with the traversal and the way it just seems to be lining up with how the crimes game crash. Oh, damn. Alright then. So between that as well as the short runtime, like if you run through just the story, this is like a 3-day game. If you run just through the story, unless you're really bad at games, and that's not an insult, this is a short game. It's not that long. It's seriously like the length of a Call of Duty. It's like a solid 8 hours, if that. Now, $50 for 8 hours of just story? Are you crazy? Are you expecting me to... I know, that seems a bit steep, but if you'll pay it for Call of Duty, why not for a well-polished single-player story that only has minor bugs, albeit there's still bugs nonetheless, but so did those games, with no monetization. And if you already got Spider-Man 2018 and you know you're going to enjoy this, I'm just saying the rationale is there for the game to be priced for $10 cheaper, to be shorter, but to still be good as a individual standalone title. I wish it was longer. I wish those couple of bugs hadn't shown up, because the only reason why they stand out to me is because the game is so short. When you add the side content into it, you got maybe like 15 hours if you're trying to perfect it, if you're trying to get the highest rating in each thing. But if you've mastered 2018 Spider-Man, you're probably going to know exactly what you're getting into, and once you find out Miles' new tricks, maybe 12 hours. So you got 12 hours for $50. It's not the best price, but it's a damn good time. That is to be said nonetheless. So, with all that out the way, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the main part, because there's one thing I want to talk about. It's kind of spoilery. I'm going to go ahead and let those of you that enjoyed all of this go ahead and mosey on out. This is essentially me padding the runtime so I can talk for just a couple minutes on what I thought were some really cool ass spoilers. In 3, 2, 1, you should be gone. Have a great day. So, for those that finished the game or those that don't care about spoilers, in 2018 Spider-Man, Norman Osborn was running for mayor of, New York. He wants to run things. He is beyond just being a multi-millionaire. He wants to actually have control of the city in a legal way. It hasn't shown how he's been illegal, but it shows that he is not the most liked individual. Here he is missing because he is sick. Somehow that sickness is being cured by the Venom suit, as he is supposed to be overseas somewhere, from what he told MJ and Peter, but he's being watched over by his father. I'm thinking, since they showed them again in this one at the end, Kurt Connors, the Lizard, working with Norman Osborn while Harry is becoming conscious. You're watching from his vantage point, the Venom suit more engrossed over his body, at least it looks to be that, while Norman is telling him being Kurt, that he wants his son out of there now. He wants him out of that tank. He is okay. He is ready for him. He is tired of seeing his boy in there like that. So you mean to tell me that in the start of this game, you have Peter and Miles working together on the scene to fight Rhino? That was cool. After that, Peter leaves. You have Tinkerer fight with you. That was cool in the middle of the game. Then, the game has to play the rest of itself out. You set up a couple of superhero team-ups. You set up supervillain team-ups. I'm thinking in Spider-Man 3, we're going to get a deeply intimate story with Dr. Kurt Connors, obviously, somehow being connected to Peter. He always is. Always, always. So, we're going to get that ball of wax and him being the Lizard, I feel. We're going to get Harry, best bud, coming back into town, but oh shit, you might be Venom? What? And then we have Green Goblin. I don't think that Norman is going to keep his shit together if his son's life is in danger and having to fight 2 Spider-Men. Because Miles ain't going to sit down while Peter is having the hardest time fighting some of the closest people he loves. Knowing he's going to stutter step, knowing he's not going to want to go through with it, knowing he's going to have to deal with that bullshit, but he will not deal with it alone. So I think we're going to get Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man versus, I don't know, but Lizard, Goblin, and Venom all at once. That sounds like a nightmare. That sounds like an emotional, mental nightmare and the worst run of Parker luck ever. I think we're gonna get some dope-ass team-ups and some really fun gameplay. So, let's go ahead, wrap this review up. I'm gonna let this outro play me out. If you have not checked out any of my other content, please feel free to do so. Spread it, share it, appreciate the love. Go ahead and play myself out, me, Video Game Guru, signing off. Hey, if you've made it this far, I want to say thank you for your time and attention. With this being the end of the video and all, let's start a discussion. Do we see eye to eye? Are we diametrically opposed? Leave a comment below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit that bell icon for notifications so you never miss out on my next piece of content. That's the Video Game Guru, signing off.